Hello to the few people who watch my videos. Welcome to another dumb voice acting video. Now, if I sound tired, that is because I am recording this absurdly late because I forgot to record this earlier because I was doing a lot of things. And right now it's almost 12:30 in the morning. So if I sound a little off, tired, or slow, just know that it's late. So, in this video, I wanted to sort of showcase the voices I can do because surprisingly, I sometimes I surprise myself. Surprisingly, I can do a pretty decent amount of voices, or in terms of like range, I have a decent amount of range. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, to start off with, my voice. This is my normal voice, typically. It does change depending on how I feel. So, since I'm tired, it's a little more monotone and raspy. But typically, it's more like I usually talk like this. It's more higher, I say. Higher. There's always rasp. I think my normal voice has a typical rasp, typical rasp to it, or raspiness. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I try to get rid of that raspiness, kind of like how I talk like this. I talk more from like the nasal than the throat, if that makes sense to anyone. Which I guess I don't know. Sometimes I don't even understand it. So, but my normal voice, normally raspy. Sometimes I can change it by talking from a different spot. So it sounds more like this when I talk from my nose. God, I don't know why I didn't decide to do this earlier. But if I talk normally from the throat, it sounds a lot more raspy like this. Another voice I can do would be what I like to call my deep voice, or it kind of sounds like Cell from Dragon Ball in a way, where I get kind of lower, 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 and then to the point where it's just like it kind of sounds like me doing an impression of what's his name, the voice of Joe Swanson from Family Guy. I forget what his name, Patrick Warburton. I think that's his name. I can go lower, but then the lower I go, it starts to sound really weird. So I can go the lowest I can go is probably like this. Probably, yeah. This is probably the lowest I can go without sounding weird. Because when I go lower, I start to like clench up, and then I start to like sound like Schmeagle. I start to sound like Smeagol. So it's because it tightens my throat when I'm doing that deeper voice. I tighten my throat, and to the point where like if I tighten it so much, it just nothing comes out, or at least it struggles to come out. So typically, I showcase this voice because this voice is a lot easier on me on my throat. Well, not a lot easier, but there's not much repercussion when I'm doing this voice. If I decide to go deeper, it kind of tightens my throat, and then I have to kind of clench up. Or no, it's more like I tighten my throat and I have to push my chest out, if that makes any sense. So yeah, and then this is for some reason that D voice is the only voice I can put an like a southern accent on for some reason, and then it kind of sounds like McCree, or sorry, Cassidy from Overwatch. So let me give it a try. Yeah, I'm tired, so I don't know if it'll be great. I don't like shooting a lady, but for you, I'll make an exception. I think that's a line from the game. I don't know. I can't remember. Again, I'm tired. Well, I'm not tired, but it's late. I'm tired. Yeah, whatever. That's the best you're gonna get out of me right now. Another voice I can probably do pretty consistently is, uh, I don't know what you would call it. I guess I just call it Schmeagle because a lot of it is just different levels of Smeagol or Gollum from Lord of the Rings. First level is like it sounds like Stitch from Lilo and Stitch, where you push your tongue to the back of your mouth. And this is the dumbest one because I learned this from watching Niga Higa way back then. Not even way back then. It was like beginning of this year. For some reason, I decided to watch his old videos. He tells you to talk like Stitch to sound like a reggae singer. So I was like, I was messing around. I was like, yeah, that's how you sound like Stitch. In a way. In a way, it does. And then for some reason, I was like, it kind of sounds like Smeagol a little. How does Smeagol sound like? And then I was like, oh, it kind of just sounds like Stitch if he was throwing up. So I thought to myself, huh, what if I just sound like Stitch while he's throwing up? So, uh, I'm I'm sorry for headphone users. I'll try to edit it in the video. Maybe it'll sound better. But essentially, that's all Golem is, or Smeagol. It's just Stitch if he was throwing up. Or, in Andy Serkis's words, it just sounds like you're a cat throwing up a hairball. Which, yeah. And then, that's also like a way to do Jeff the Shark's voice. It's just pretty much Smeagol with less throwing up. It sounds stupid, but it is. That's how I did the Jeff voice in my Jeff video. Those three voices are quite similar, and people don't realize it. They are very similar. And then there's other versions where I can like do it where it sounds like a henchman I think that's what you would say. Yes, master. Something like that. But it all sounds like the same. It all sounds like Golem, some form of Golem. Stitch sounds like Golem if he's not throwing up, or Jeff the Shark is Golem with less throwing up. A henchman is just Golem talking cohesively. Another voice I can do is, these are the deeper voices. I'm not necessarily good at them. It's very hard for me to sustain these voices, which is why I usually never do it, because, again, you shouldn't be doing voices that you can't sustain for a long time, and I just don't think it sounds right for my voice. So, I can do maybe like a villain voice? Maybe? I don't know. I think I can sometimes I can't. It's kind of like on and off, which is why I never do it, but I'll give it a shot. Rise, rise, sweep over this kingdom. Something like that. I don't know. I'm not gonna know what the recording sounds like or what my voice sounds like until I edit this video. So, that's the best you're gonna get. Another one would be, I like to call my monster voice. It's literally like, I wouldn't say the deepest voice I have. Again, the deeper voice would be the one before with the Cell impression, or Patrick Warburton. But that's probably the deepest voice I can do. But the monster one is like deep with an effect on it. So the best thing I can do is, trying to think of a character right now. Omen from Valorant. Yeah, something like I am the beginning. I am the end. It's not necessarily my best voice. I think it's definitely the weakest voice I can do, because I don't think my voice doesn't go deep enough for that voice. It's hard for me to like go deeper and use that effect on my voice, because when I do it, I have to speak slower and it's a lot more breathy. So it's very hard to say full sentences. Because I can try going lower, but then I won't be able to get I won't be able to get more than 2 or 3 words out at a time. So let me try. I am the beginning. I am the end. Something like that. It's very breathy and it makes my throat very dry, which is why I never do that voice. It is a voice I can do. It's not something I would normally do, though. I'm trying to think what other voices I can do off the top of my head. Again, this is all improvised. I do not have a list or anything of the voices I can do. I don't know. I can do a bunch of creature noises, but that's not much I don't think that's too hard to do. It's just a bunch of weird noises that you can do with your mouth. Yeah, I think that's about it. Everything else would be typically just my voice, or like a variation. Like, I don't know. It's very hard. It's very hard to say what kind of voices you can do and kind of explain, especially explaining how you do the voices. It's very hard because it's almost something you just do naturally and you don't even know how you do it. I really should have recorded this way earlier. And also, this is sort of I don't want to say a throwaway video, because, again, I was supposed to record this way earlier in the day. I just completely forgot. I got caught up in doing digital art, so yeah. And also, I ran out of ideas for voice acting practice. If anyone watches this video, which I know there might be a few, and those few people could, leave a comment or, send me a DM on Discord or something, because I know the only people who watch are people I know most of the time. And, see what other shows or characters I can do, because I'm running out of ideas. Anyways, this is just a random video I decided to do. I think you'll probably be seeing more videos like this where I just sort of talk about voicing about voice acting. So, yeah, it's probably not what you want to see. I know a lot of people already don't want to see the voice acting stuff. Actually, that reminds me. I will probably make an announcement next week about maybe a second channel for gaming. Or actually, the second channel would be about pretty much anything that's not related to voice acting. Because I tend to have a lot of stuff to talk about like that. But, anyways, next week, if you care, I might make an announcement about a second channel. Maybe. Most likely. And this video was just another dumb throwaway video, kind of like the One Piece laugh, where I just make myself sound really stupid in front of people. So, yeah. With that all being said, everyone, thank you, and good night.